Well, hey, friends, welcome to another edition of the Thriving Christian Artist Podcast. I'm Matt Tommy, your host, and really excited to have a brand new friend of mine, Noel Yang, who's all the way from New Zealand, an incredible artist. But as you're going to hear, so much more than that as well. So, Noel, welcome to the podcast. Really glad you're here today.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's really an honor. Yeah, I've been following you since 2019.
Really?
I read your book, Unlock the Heart of Artists, and I'm a loyal listener to your podcast.
Wow, how wonderful. I always love it when people that turn into guests are listeners, because you kind of know how this is going to go and that sort of thing. So I love that. You know, for people that are just getting to know you, why don't you give us a little bit of maybe the quick version of your story, and then we'll kind of jump into a little bit more detail and talk about what you're doing right now and how you got there.
Cool. Yeah. Yes. So my name is Cori Noel, and I was born in Taiwan. I have a Chinese father and a Japanese mother. And so I grew up, I was not a Christian, but I became a Christian in 19 years old. But it was very interesting that God has always been using art and literature to woo me in. My dad was studying in US, and he brought back this illustrated Bible, huge Bible. It has the lithograph of the French artist Gustave Doré. It's in the 19th century, very famous one, like a huge Bible. So he brought it back. I was a little girl, like 5, 6 years old. I was looking at the huge Bible with this beautiful art. I was like, what is this? So anyway, so God has always been using art to draw me in, so I felt like we are doing art because it just shows God's creativity, his beauty, And then so I went to America to study. I've always been a creative. My mom is an artist, so she does this beautiful Asian water ink painting on the rice paper, so I grew up, learning all that. But my heart was to study film because I love stories. I love reading stories. So I went to America to study filmmaking, and I ended up in Hollywood for about 10 years.
Wow.
So making films, documentaries, and children's programming. And then that's how actually I come to New Zealand, because I have the East and the West background. And I came to New Zealand to work for an animation studio, for 7 years. So, but in between time, I've always been like doing some kind of painting, and I taught creative workshops. I did mission work with drama, script writing to help people to write their stories, write their redemptive stories. And so I feel God has just given me this passion to use creativity to empower people, but I never thought that would become a full-time painter.
Isn't it amazing though? I think all of us, the story of our life is as we continue to say yes to God, just day by day, moment by moment, He eventually brings all the things that we love together, like your film and the love of story and art and all of that. And for you, I believe that started to really come together in 2020 during the pandemic, right? Where you started to kind of make a shift into your visual art as opposed to your movie making. So how did that begin to happen?
I know. How did that happen? Actually, I really hit the button in 2019. It was the toughest time in my whole life. I lost my brother in 2018 in a kayaking accident.
Wow.
So I was completely heartbroken. And at beginning of 2019, our feature film, the studio I was working with, we finished this feature project. So I was free to do something else. And so I actually went to China for another, like a high profile producer, director kind of job. But on the way back, I just heard God saying that it's time to go home. On the plane, at that time, I was very burnt out. I was so burnt out from 7 years of, traveling. I moved about 9 times in 7 years
Oh my gosh.
to, for the filming and all the stuff, building studios or doing projects, TVs and all that stuff. It's so stressful. And then I was just trying also to heal from losing my brother.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was like a blob. I just didn't want to do anything,
Sure.
And then one day, God just led me to this thing called the Play Center in New Zealand. Play Center is kind of like the early childhood education system. And then all they did was to allow kids to play a lot of tree leaves,
Sure.
mud, because we have lots of that here, right, in New Zealand. Yeah, just the incredible, nature resource. And then so one day I went there as a volunteer. And then this girl, she picked this purple paint. She wanted to paint together, but then she ended up painting my whole face purple.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun, And I came home, I just, I picked up my watercolor travel kit. And that's the only thing I have at that time. And I just went out to the river, the ocean, the vineyard, because I live in this rural, beautiful place. And I just start sketching. And my heart just started singing. I was like, this is what I want to do. I feel coming alive again. And at that time,
Isn't it amazing? I hear that so many times from artists that, life gets in the way, your kids, job, whatever it is. And then finally there's this moment where you can get back to doing what you love creatively. And it's like, all of a sudden you get plugged into the power, right? Like all of a sudden it's like, this is who I am. This is what I remember that person, back then. So that's a wonderful feeling though.
Yeah, totally. And I remember there's a quote you share quite often. It's from this famous person. Okay. God's glory is man alive, right?
Yeah, Saint Irenaeus. The glory of God is man.
The glory of God.
Yes.
Is man fully alive, right?
Yeah.
So that just really hit me. And then I was like, that's what I want. I want to be fully alive. And then I never thought that actually painting was the thing that God unlocked me. And then I come up completely alive, So, so 2019, I just, resting, try to get healed, all the dysfunction in your whole life, it can just unravel. So I did a lot of inner work, just work on my mindset and all that. And then in 2020, I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 months just to indulge in doing art.
Yeah.
So I took a bunch of courses like ceramics, printmaking, watercolor, mixed media, live oil portrait, I just I'm like a kid. I just went to the candy shop. I want this. And I just having fun. And then who knows that the pandemic just hit. And I could not go anywhere. I could not go back to Taiwan with my family. I ended up staying in New Zealand for 3 years, and I just keep painting.
Wow. Were you working like virtually during the pandemic for the film industry and all that, or?
Oh, no, I was just I decided I'm not going to do anything else. This is where I really, truly am alive. Wow. And I have to focus on this. I'm going to give myself that, freedom.
Sure.
And then when the pandemic hit, I didn't even have proper canvases. And I called my friend. I said, you're an artist, can you give me some of your spare canvases? And so she was very gracious. So she gave me a bunch of used, and I can upcycle it. And then somehow my sister told me, there's this online platform called Artist Pledge, like a artist buy, you sell one painting, you sell 5 paintings, and you will buy something from another artist.
Yeah.
So I sold all the 12 paintings, and then I thought, oh, well, maybe there is something in this. Maybe God actually really want me to paint, you know. And at the same time, a friend, without knowing anything I'm doing, you know, he just said that, you know, it's a friend from a long time ago. We haven't been in touch. And he somehow, you know, God just, you know, like encouraged him and say, you know, you need to sponsor Coral. And he has no idea. He said, whatever you want to do, I'm just going to sponsor you.
Wow. Wow.
And that, you know, that was like a confirmation, like maybe this is a path I need to take and be brave. Of course, I've been working professionally for 15 years in the film, you know, it's very hard to let go.
Sure.
You know, like because the career you build, all the investment, you know, the education,
the connections, sure, all of that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but at that time, there's this one line from this book, you know, from Anne of Green Gable, you know, and this character, and she came back to Everly, this little town, to teach and give up her big, you know, opportunity in the city. And she said, because it's not what the world holds out to you, but what you can give, you know, kind of like from your own heart, your soul. So I felt like I have traveled, like I work in China, in Europe, in America, you know, I've seen a lot of the world. I got a lot of stimulation. I am like I just love the stimulation, but now I feel it's a time to really ask, what is my voice? What do I want to say? And when I was working in those big studio movies and stuff, you really don't have the luxury of being a solo artist.
Sure.
Because you're working for the client.
Yeah,
there's a lot of pressure. Sure, yeah. And I was really just, you know, worn out from that. I really need to tap into me as an artist, that different way of operating. And I felt like God is very happy for me to do that, you know? And so, so that's how it all started.
It's just amazing. And I love how, you know, in all of our paths, I think we can look back and as we continue to say, yes, God confirms your path, like the selling the 12 paintings, the person that wanted to sponsor you, just this inner knowing that you had from the Holy Spirit that this is the next step. I mean, God's faithful to do that. I'm interested, Coral, you know, as somebody that has worked in, you know, an industry, teams, big projects, that sort of thing. And now here you are as an artist who obviously loves to play and experiment and that sort of thing. But now you're in the place of running your own business, and, you know, you're the boss, you're the worker, you're the marketing agency, you're all of those things. So how has that transition been? And what are some of the things maybe that you've been able to transfer from your other life into this life now?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So, yes, first of all, I never thought I would become an artist. My mom is an artist, my sister's an artist, but I thought, I don't think I'm an artist. You know, you just like And then once I start painting, I explore so much. I explore abstract, flora, portraiture, oil, acrylic, mixed media, everything. I was just like going to play. And then I realized in order for this to be sustainable, I need to learn about business. Because there is a demand, you know. But I was just learning on the go because I was not sure what I'm doing. You know, like what is this new path? I have no idea, right? So of course I listening to your podcast and, you know, just taking courses. And so whenever there's a demand for maybe this particular painting, I learn about shipping, packaging, right? If there's a need for this print, I learn about how to make print. And, you know, and imagine shipping things, shipping artworks during pandemic. That was
quite a challenge.
Man, that's a challenge, right? And then I never thought I would become a creative entrepreneur myself. But what really helped me from my previous experience as a filmmaker, producer, and director was, like I'm highly motivated.
Yeah.
I take a strong initiative, and also I did a lot of fundraising for film, and I'm also one thing really helped me, I think, stop me from thinking too much or being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Is I've taken this training as do improv theater.
Yeah.
And basically the improv theater is a way to train professionals to become actors, but using games, to play, in playing, learning the techniques and the all the skills. But you have a mindset just like a kid.
Yeah.
It's not like, try to memorize all the lines. You can be
You're learning to wing it, learning to play.
Exactly. You just play, sure. And then if there's a ball is thrown at you, and then you just pick it up, right? And then you thought, oh, this is a big ball, and I need to big, sure. And if it's a little ball, I just pick it like this one, right? So it's interacting. So I feel like it's almost like God was playing with me in this hard thing. And I realized that my previous Christian life and film professional, I was just down to serious. I always want to serve God, and then
very heavy feeling, right?
Very heavy feeling, yeah. The responsibility, the high standard. Always wonder if I did it right, did God say that, if I did it wrong, he's going to judge me.
Sure.
Especially I come from an Asian background, very, very, strict.
Black and white, yeah, sure.
Upbringing. Yeah. There's only one answer, So, but it's impossible to do art that way, because in art you have to experiment, you have to, be willing to accept failure. Like I want to paint an abstract, it's a big mess. It's like, what is this? This is awful. And then right? But then you have to say, oh, okay, that's the only way to learn, right?
Yeah, in the process, right? Yeah.
In the process, right? So this mentality, like improv, you accept the failure, you celebrate. You celebrate the failure because you try something new. You try something you have never done before. And that's why you fail. But it's only a feedback. It doesn't mean it's a failure,
I love that. Feedback, not failure. That's really good.
It's really good. And then so I decided now I'm doing art. I'm going to do it differently.
Yeah.
I want God to really show me how to do it and how to have fun. And then so at that time, there's one thing really hit me is someone told me that God's will is more like a playground rather than a tight rope.
I love that.
I was like, wow, for all my Christian life, I was walking on this tightrope. I was so afraid I will just drop. I miss God's will, and I just fall into the abyss. But then I realized, wait, God says we need to return to be a kid.
Yeah.
And the kingdom. You if you are a child, you can enter the kingdom. So I was like, okay, what is it really like to co-create with God? God, you got to show me. And then this is what I realized, at least it's in my case. Every time I want to do something really great.
Right.
And then it just doesn't work.
Flop. Right.
Flop. The painting is just not working. But if I just say, okay, this is something fun, I'm just going to try it, I'm just going to do it very excitingly, but not any agenda or ego. Yeah. And it just worked. And then so
that experimentation. That's also what keeps you alive though in the studio, right? I mean, doing those things. And I just love what you're saying too I love the tightrope in the playground. As I've learned to walk in the kingdom, I've often used kind of a similar analogy, just like, Jesus said that the gate is narrow, to come into the kingdom through salvation through him. But once you get into the kingdom is a wide, beautiful place of expression and freedom and opportunity for you to live out of that place of unique design. I love the metaphor of a playground. I mean, how beautiful is that? Because I really believe, and I think you would agree probably, that God cares much more that we create than what we create. It's about us being in the process with him, and like you're saying, playing on the monkey bars or on the Ferris wheel or wherever it is. It's just that you're on the playground, right? That you're doing what he's created you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So so a lot of times I need to adjust my own mindset. It's like God gave me the permission, but I need to give myself the permission, because it's like undoing a lot of programming and the cultural condition I had, for all my life. And then so in art itself, I was able to do it very well. But when it comes to business, suddenly you feel like, oh my God, this is the bottom line. You have to make it work, right? You start to get nervous and stress out. But then I realized actually it's the same principle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's think about it as something like an idea or something I want to do. Like I realized, like I've done in 2022, last year, I sold 30 paintings, big and small. I had 2 solo shows and 6 group shows. I entered a competition. I was a finalist for 2. I launched some products, and I also have sold out the calendar at the year end.
Love it.
But everything I do, it was more like I just going to try, because it seemed to be really interesting, because I really have no idea, right? I'm so new in this. So I have to try to put myself out there to see where God is, where is the breadcrumb for me. Yeah. So
follow the favor that he's opening for you, right? Yeah. Whatever it is that he's doing.
Sure. But if I don't go out, I will not know. So, and I realized, like, for example, this particular gallery, like maybe 2 years ago, I just went by. I thought, oh, I really like this gallery. This is really a nice one. I would like to have my art shown there. And then, 2 years later, it happened. it wasn't just because of all the gallery, that gallery, attract me. There's something make me enjoy it. So it's not everything, but it's like I decide to follow that delight that God gave me in my heart, and then usually I will have the energy to pursue it. Yeah, because it's always hard work, right?
I just want to zero in on something with you, because I think it's easy for people to overlook. A lot of times people think when they're transitioning from a previous career into their art or whatever, they think, oh, this is going to take years and years. It's going to be a hard transition, all this sort of thing. And we see it all the time in artists that come in, to the mentoring program, those that will come in and do the work and be diligent with what God's called them to, and learn to listen to his voice and follow his lead. Just like you, things can happen very, very quickly. And I just would encourage you. What would you say to somebody that still has that mindset of, oh, being an artist is hard. This is going to be a hard journey. It's going to take forever, and I don't know if I can really make it. I mean, you're living proof, and so many of the people that we have on the podcast are living proof that that's not true. But what would you say to encourage them in that today?
Yeah, I would say really tap into, God is the one who really wants us to dream. And That's right. He is the one really put the seed of that dream in our heart. So he is more than anyone else that wanted us to succeed. And he is abundant God. Yeah. And then this mindset of abundance is start with like taking that restriction or limitation of our mind. Yeah. Like you look at someone who's, doing what you want to do, and then you just say, that can apply to me. Yeah. There's no difference. Yeah. If he did it in them, he can do it in me, right? Do it in me. because we are all just all born powerful and wonderful.
That's right.
By God.
That's
and then
right.
it's like we need to allow that. And so, like for example, a young girl, 19 years old, climbed Mount Everest, and because she said nobody told me I can't.
So I did it, right? Exactly.
So I just did it,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Coral, I know people are going to want to, see your work, find out more about all the things that you're doing, the products that you have, all that sort of thing. So I wish we could take forever and just keep talking and talking and talking, but I want to send people to your website and let them connect with you so that they can continue to follow all that you're doing. So where can they go to see all the great stuff that you're doing online?
Yes. So my website is noelyangyang.com. That spells as NOELYANG art.com.
Wonderful.
And I have Instagram and Facebook, and my handle is Coral Noel Yang.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll put all that on whether you're watching on YouTube or on the podcast, we'll put those links there so folks can connect. But Coral, thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your story. It's such an inspiration to me, and I know it will be to others to hear all that God's doing in your life. And like you said, if he's done it in your life, he's done it in my life, he wants to do it in the lives of our listeners today as well. So thanks for being on the podcast today.